They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But Cassius Hargrave? He liked his served with burnt sugar, forbidden kisses, and the systematic destruction of everything his enemy loved. Picture this, Manhattan. The Pierre Hotel ballroom. Crystal chandeliers worth more than most people's houses. And in the corner, near the dessert table she'd spent 3 days perfecting, stood Marlowe Chen, 28 years old, hands scarred from a decade of burns, heart scarred from watching her family empire crumble. She didn't know it yet, but the man watching her from across that room had been waiting 30 years for this moment. Cassius Hargrave. 52. Silver hair slicked back like a villain from your darkest fantasies. CEO of Hargrave Pharmaceutical, the company that had systematically destroyed every restaurant her family owned. And when their eyes met across that ballroom, that's when Marlowe Chen's life became a beautiful, twisted nightmare. Because here's what she didn't know, her mother, the woman who'd raised her on Chinese folktales and French pastry techniques, had once been the love of Cassius Hargrave's life. The woman who'd chosen someone else. The woman who'd broken him so completely that he'd spent 3 decades building an empire just to destroy her legacy. One taste. That's all he needed. One taste of Marlowe's chocolate torte. One taste of revenge. One taste of her. This is the sweetest obsession. And I promise you, by the time we're done, you'll never look at a dessert the same way again. Part 1, The Bitter Beginning. Let me set the scene properly because the details, they matter. Marlowe had catered the Hargrave Meridian merger celebration. Not because she wanted to. God, no. But because Chen's catering, the last surviving piece of her family's restaurant empire, was 3 months behind on rent and this job paid enough to keep the lights on for another quarter. Her brother Dominic had begged her to turn it down. Marlowe, you know what that man did to us. To Mom's restaurants. To everything she built. But Marlowe had learned something her brother hadn't: pride doesn't pay bills. Pride doesn't keep your grandmother's recipes alive. Pride doesn't feed the 5 employees who'd stayed loyal when everyone else jumped ship. So there she stood, in her chef's whites, watching Manhattan's elite devour her grandmother's secret recipe matcha macarons and whiskey-soaked chocolate torte, and she felt nothing. Just the familiar burn of her scarred hands under the cotton gloves she always wore. That's when he approached. The torte. His voice was like expensive whiskey, smooth, dangerous, burning all the way down. Marlowe turned, and there he was. Cassius Hargrave. She'd seen photos, obviously. Everyone had. But photos don't capture presence. Photos don't capture the way a man can look at you like you're the last dessert at a buffet and he hasn't eaten in 30 years. What about it? Marlowe kept her voice professional, even though her heart had started doing something irregular. Who taught you to balance bitter and sweet like that? The whiskey cuts through the chocolate exactly at the moment the tongue expects comfort. It's cruel. Deliberate. Marlowe felt something cold slide down her spine. Nobody talked about her food like that. Like it was a weapon. My mother taught me, she said quietly. Something flickered across Cassius's face. If Marlowe had known what to look for, she would have seen it: recognition, rage, and something far more dangerous. Hunger. Your mother. He said it like he was tasting the words. Lillian Chen. Yes. I remember her work. Before you and your father ran everything into the ground. Marlowe's hands clenched inside her gloves. We didn't. Didn't you? Cassius stepped closer. He smelled like cedar and something medicinal. Later, Marlowe would learn he collected poisons as a hobby. Extracted them. Studied them. Chen's garden closed last year. Chen's lotus the year before. Each location mysteriously losing their leases, their investors, their liquor licenses. Bad luck, I suppose. You, Marlowe's voice came out strangled. That was you. Cassius smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Prove it. Before we continue, and trust me, you don't want to miss what Cassius proposes next, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Fortune 29 Mystic Tales brings you the darkest, most addictive romance stories on YouTube, and this one's going to haunt you. Now, back to Marlowe's nightmare. The party ended at midnight. Marlowe was supervising cleanup when Cassius's assistant approached, a severe woman in her 40s who looked like she ironed her facial expressions. Mr. Hargrave requests a private meeting. Top floor. Now. Marlowe should have said no. Should have walked away. Should have done literally anything except follow that woman into a private elevator that required a key card and ascended to a penthouse she didn't know existed above the ballroom. The penthouse was all dark wood and darker secrets. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. And there, standing with his back to her, was Cassius Hargrave. Close the door, Marlowe. She did. God help her, she did. I have a proposal for you. He turned, and in the dim lighting, he looked like something carved from marble and malice. Your family's catering business, it's dying. 3 months, maybe 4, before you default on enough loans that bankruptcy becomes inevitable. How do you? I know everything about you, Marlowe. Your brother's gambling debts. $50,000 to some very unpleasant people in Brooklyn. The fact that your sous chef has a daughter who needs surgery you can't afford to help pay for. The fact that you lie awake at night wondering if your mother would be disappointed in how spectacularly you failed to preserve her legacy. Marlowe felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she'd learned long ago how to keep them locked down. What do you want? 6 months. You. As my private chef. You'll live in my residence, prepare every meal, cater every event. In exchange, I'll pay off every debt your family has. I'll return the lease on Chen's garden. I'll make sure your brother's debts disappear and your sous chef's daughter gets the best pediatric surgeon in New York. It was too much. Too generous. Too perfect. Why? Cassius walked toward her slowly, like he had all the time in the world. When he stopped, he was close enough that Marlowe could see gold flecks in his gray eyes. Because I knew your mother. Because I owe her memory, something. And because, Marlowe Chen, you make the only desserts in this city that make me feel anything at all. The way he said, feel, made Marlowe's skin prickle. And if I say no? Then in 3 months, Chen's catering closes. Your brother's kneecaps get shattered by debt collectors. And you spend the rest of your life wondering if your pride was worth watching everything your mother built turn to ash. Marlowe thought of her grandmother's handwritten recipes. Her mother's laugh in the kitchen. The employees who'd stayed loyal. 6 months, she whispered. 6 months, Cassius confirmed. He extended his hand. Marlowe removed her glove, the burned scars on her palms visible and shiny, and shook. His grip was firm, warm, and felt exactly like making a deal with the devil. Cassius Hargrave's residence was a converted brownstone in the Upper East Side that probably cost more than a small country. Marlowe arrived with 2 suitcases and a box of her grandmother's recipe cards. The same severe assistant, whose name, Marlowe learned, was Ms. Brennan, showed her to her quarters. Third floor. Private bedroom, bathroom, and office space. You're not to enter Mr. Hargrave's personal quarters on the fourth floor without explicit permission. Kitchen access is unrestricted. You'll prepare breakfast by 7, lunch by 1, dinner by 8. Any deviation requires 24 hours notice. Does he have dietary restrictions? Marlowe asked, trying to sound professional. Ms. Brennan's expression could have frozen hell. Mr. Hargrave eats everything. But he has particular tastes. You'll learn. The kitchen was a chef's wet dream, sub-zero refrigeration, La Cornu range, booze butcher blocks, every tool Marlowe had ever wanted. And on the counter, a note in sharp, angular handwriting. Tonight's dinner, surprise me. I'll know if you play it safe. Ch. Marlowe spent the afternoon in that kitchen, and here's what you need to understand, cooking was her language. The only way she knew how to speak truth. So she made her mother's recipe, the one that had never appeared on any menu. Dan noodles with a twist, the sauce made with dark chocolate, Sichuan peppercorns, and a whisper of whiskey. Bitter. Sweet. Numbing. The taste of loss. At 8 p.m. sharp, Cassius appeared. He said nothing as he sat. Said nothing as she placed the bowl in front of him. The silence stretched like a knife blade. Then he took a bite. And Marlowe watched something crack in his careful mask. She made this for me once, he said quietly. Your mother. 30 years ago. Before. Before what? Cassius looked up, and for just a moment, Marlowe saw something raw and ruined in his eyes. Before she chose your father. Before she chose everyone but me. The truth hit Marlowe like a slap. You didn't know her from work. You loved her. I worshipped her. Cassius's voice was flat, dead. And she destroyed me. So I'm returning the favor. Marlowe stood frozen. Through me. Through you, he confirmed. 6 months, Marlowe. 6 months to pay for your family's sins. Starting now. He stood, walked to where she stood, and did something Marlowe would replay in her mind for weeks. He reached out and traced one finger along the burned scar on her palm. These scars, he murmured. Did they hurt? Yes. Good. His eyes met hers. Then you understand the price of playing with fire. He left her standing in that kitchen, heart racing, skin burning where he'd touched her, and the terrible knowledge settling in her bones. She'd just agreed to be tortured by a man who'd been planning this revenge since before she was born. CTA number 2, natural integration at 12 o'clock mark. Okay, I need you to comment right now, Team Cassius or Team Marlowe, run. Because this man is unhinged, but also, there's something here, right? Drop your thoughts below, and if you're loving this dark, twisted energy, smash that like button. Now let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Scene 4, The Daughter. Marlowe lasted 3 days before meeting Thea Hargrave. Cassius's daughter arrived at the brownstone like a Category 5 hurricane in Louboutins. 25 years old, vice president of Hargrave Pharmaceutical, and possessed of her father's eyes without any of his restraint. Marlowe was prepping lunch when Thea swept into the kitchen. So you're the charity case. Thea's smile was all venom. The latest in Dad's collection of broken things. I'm the chef, Marlowe said evenly, not looking up from the fennel she was shaving. Right. The chef. Thea air-quoted with manicured nails. Let me give you some free advice. My father doesn't do anything without 3 layers of ulterior motive. Whatever sob story he sold you about helping your family, it's a lie. He's using you. And when he's done, he'll throw you away like he does everyone. Marlowe set down her knife. Looked at Thea properly. Saw something unexpected, fear. Are you warning me, or threatening me? Both, Thea said flatly. My mother died 7 years ago under very mysterious circumstances. The last woman my father became interested in. She had a nervous breakdown and now lives in a psychiatric facility upstate. So take your 6 months of financial security in whatever delusional fantasy you're building, and understand, you will not survive my father. Nobody does. Then Thea leaned close, and Marlowe smelled her perfume, something expensive and suffocating. And if somehow you do survive him, you won't survive me. This family doesn't have room for another woman. Especially not some nobody chef playing dress-up in my mother's kitchen. Thea left like a storm exiting, and Marlowe stood there, knife in hand, wondering exactly how deep this nightmare went. Scene 5, Night Visitor. That night, Marlowe couldn't sleep. She wandered down to the kitchen at 2 a.m., thinking she'd do what she always did when anxious, bake. Lose herself in the precision of measurements and temperatures. But when she reached the kitchen, the lights were already on. Cassius stood at the counter in silk pajama pants and nothing else, eating leftover Dan noodles straight from the container. His chest was bare, revealing a body that had no business being that fit for 52. And scars. So many scars. Can't sleep, he asked without looking up. I could ask you the same thing. I rarely sleep. Sleeping means dreams. Dreams mean complications. He finally looked at her, and Marlowe realized she was wearing nothing but an oversized t-shirt and shorts. His eyes tracked over her slowly. Cataloging. You cook like her. My mother. Yes. She had this way of making food taste like memory. Like loss. Like she was feeding you your own heart. Marlowe moved closer despite every instinct screaming to run. Tell me about her. About who she was before my father. No. Why not? Because, Cassius said softly, dangerously, if I tell you who she was, you'll understand exactly why I'm doing this. And you'll hate me. And I'm not ready for you to hate me yet, Marlowe. Yet? He smiled that empty smile. Oh, you'll hate me eventually. I'm counting on it. But not tonight. Tonight, I want you to make me something. It's 2 in the morning. I don't care. Make me something that hurts. Something that tastes like the worst day of your life. Marlowe should have said no. Should have gone back to bed. Should have maintained every professional boundary. Instead, she said, burnt honey ice cream with black sesame and sea salt. It's what I made the day we scattered my mother's ashes. Cassius's eyes flashed with something dark and hungry. Perfect. So Marlowe cooked for her captor at 2 in the morning, and Cassius watched her like she was performing surgery. Like every move mattered. Like she was the most fascinating thing in his world of billion-dollar deals and pharmaceutical empires. When she finally served him the ice cream, bitter, burnt, beautiful, he took one bite and closed his eyes. Your mother made this for me. The night I asked her to marry me. The night she said no. Marlowe's blood turned to ice water. What? This exact dessert. She said it tasted like beautiful endings. Like love that burns too hot to survive. His eyes opened, locked on hers. She was right. I don't understand. Yes, you do. Cassius stood, walked around the counter until he was inches away. You understand that I've been waiting 30 years to taste this again. That I destroyed your family to get here. That you're not just paying a debt, Marlowe. You're rewriting history. You're becoming the story that should have been. Marlowe's voice came out broken. I'm not her. No, Cassius agreed, reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, such a gentle gesture from such a cruel man. You're better. You're the version of her that I can actually break. Then he walked away, leaving Marlowe alone in that kitchen with the terrible understanding. This wasn't about debt. This was about obsession. And she was the offering to a ghost. Part 2, The Dangerous Dance, 2000 hours, 40:00. Scene 6, The First Test. 2 weeks into her 6-month sentence, Cassius took Marlowe to his poison garden. Yes. Poison garden. Behind the brownstone was a private greenhouse where Cassius cultivated the most dangerous plants in the world: wolfsbane, belladonna, castor beans, oleander. All beautiful. All deadly. My hobby, he said casually, walking between tables of horticultural murder. I extract compounds. Study toxicity. Learn how much beauty something can contain before it kills you. Marlowe followed, morbidly fascinated. Why? Because my wife died of poisoning 7 years ago. He said it so matter-of-factly. They ruled it suicide. Ingested oleander in her evening tea. But Eleanor was many things: depressed, angry, alcoholic, but she wasn't suicidal. She was murdered. By who? Cassius turned, and his smile was arctic. That's the question, isn't it? Who had motive? Who had access? Who benefits most from her death? The implication hung in the air like toxic gas. Your daughter thinks it was you, Marlowe whispered. My daughter thinks a lot of things. Most of them poisoned by her mother's paranoia. Cassius picked up a wolfsbane bloom, twirled it between his fingers. I want you to make me something with this. That's literally poison. Properly prepared, aconite in microscopic doses creates a tingling sensation. Numbness. A little death on the tongue. Can you do it? This was a test. Marlowe knew it. Everything with Cassius was a test. Yes. His smile grew. Dangerous word, Marlowe. Yes. Be careful how often you say it to me. CTA number 3, natural integration at 25 to 00 mark. If you're thinking, this is insane, you're right. And if you're also thinking, but I can't stop watching, then you're exactly where I want you. Share this with someone who loves toxic, unhinged romance because misery loves company. Now, let's watch Marlowe play with literal poison. Scene 7, The Brothers' Debt. That night, Marlowe got a call from Dominic. They know, he said without preamble, voice shaking. The guys I owe money to. They know you're working for Cassius Hargrave. They know he has money. They're saying, his voice cracked. Marlowe, they're saying if I don't pay by next week, they're coming after you instead. Marlowe's blood went cold. How much? 50,000. But with interest and late fees, 73. She wanted to scream. Wanted to cry. Instead, she said, I'll handle it. How? You can't ask Hargrave. But Marlowe had already hung up. Because she realized something. Cassius had promised to make Dominic's debts disappear. That was part of the deal. She found him in his study, reviewing pharmaceutical patents like normal people review Instagram. "You lied," she said without preamble. Cassius didn't look up. Context: "My brother's debts. You said you'd take care of them. They're threatening him. Threatening me." Now he looked up. Something flickered across his face: surprise. Anger. "Give me the names." "Why?" "So you can pretend to fix it while actually making it worse." Cassius stood slowly, deliberately. Walked around his desk until he was close enough that Marlowe could see the silver threading through his temples. "You think I lied to you? Didn't you?" "No." His voice was soft, lethal. "I made arrangements. But I didn't know they'd escalate before implementation. Give me the names, Marlowe. I'll handle it tonight." "How? Do you really want to know?" Marlowe thought of the poison garden. The scars on his chest. The casual way he discussed death. "No," she whispered. "Smart girl." He reached out, ran his thumb along her jawline. Such a tender gesture from such a dangerous man. "I protect what's mine, Marlowe. Even when what's mine hates me. Especially then. I'm not yours. Aren't you?" His smile was gentle, terrible. 6 months. You're mine for 6 months. And in that time, I will own every piece of you. Your time. Your talent. Your fear. Your. Stop. But he didn't. He leaned closer, lips nearly brushing her ear. Your eventual surrender. Then he walked away, leaving Marlowe shaking, terrified of the heat pooling in her belly. Scene 8, the intimate dinner. By week 4, Marlowe had fallen into a twisted routine. Morning, prepare Cassius's breakfast, always something bitter, always something that told a story. Afternoon, avoid Thea's increasingly unhinged visits. Evening, cook dinner for a man who ate her food like it was confession. Night, lie awake wondering when exactly she'd stopped feeling like a prisoner and started feeling like something else. But tonight was different. Tonight, Cassius had requested they eat together. Not him alone. Together. "You've been cooking for me for a month," he said as Marlowe served braised short ribs with charred miso and pickled cherries. "But you never eat your own food in front of me. Why?" "It feels vulnerable." "Good." He gestured to the seat across from him. "Sit. Eat. Be vulnerable with me." It was a command wrapped in politeness. Marlowe sat. They ate in silence for a few minutes. The food was perfect, she knew it was perfect. But eating across from Cassius felt like undressing. Like every bite revealed something. "Tell me about the scars," he said suddenly. "On your hands." Marlowe set down her fork. "I was 19. Working in my mother's kitchen. There was a fire. Grease fire. I tried to save the stove, grabbed a pan barehanded. She smiled bitterly. Stupid. Loyal, Cassius corrected. You were trying to save your mother's restaurant. Your family's legacy. There's nothing stupid about that. It didn't matter. We lost that location anyway. 6 months later. Unfortunate lease complications. Which I now know was you. Cassius took a slow sip of wine. Yes. Why? Why my family specifically? Because your mother was the only woman who ever made me believe in God. And when she left me, I stopped believing in anything. So I built an empire on the ashes of faith, and I've spent 30 years proving that love is a lie and loyalty is a transaction and everything beautiful eventually rots. Marlowe felt her heart crack. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Don't pity me, Cassius said sharply. I'm not a victim. I'm the villain. I chose this. I chose to destroy your family. I chose to manipulate you into this arrangement. I chose, he stopped, jaw tightening. What? Marlowe pressed. What else did you choose? Cassius looked at her with something raw and ruined. I chose to feel something again. Even if that feeling is guilt. The moment stretched between them, taut and dangerous. Then Marlowe did something insane. She reached across the table and took his hand. The hand of the man who destroyed her family. Placed it against her scarred palm. You're not the only one who's burned, she whispered. Cassius stared at their joined hands. When he looked up, his eyes were molten. Marlowe. Leave. Right now. Before I do something we'll both regret. Like what? Like kiss you. Like pull you across this table and taste every inch of you. Like forget for 5 fucking minutes that you're supposed to be my revenge and not not your what? But Cassius had already stood, was already walking away, was already leaving her alone with the terrible knowledge. This wasn't one-sided anymore. Whatever was happening between them, it was mutual destruction. CTA number 4, natural integration at 32:00 mark. Pause. Pause. Did that just happen? Are we rooting for this? Are we insane? Yes to all 3. If your heart is racing like mine, hit that like button because this story is about to get so much darker. Back to the chaos. Scene 9, the breaking point. Everything came crashing down on day 43. Marlowe discovered the photographs. She'd gone to the 4th floor, Cassius's private quarters, to deliver his breakfast because Ms. Brennan was out. She knew she wasn't supposed to be there. But she went anyway. And in his bedroom, on his desk, she found them. Photographs of her mother. Dozens of them. Lillian Chen at 25, laughing, beautiful, alive. And in every single photo, Cassius. Younger. Softer. Unbroken. They were in love. Genuinely, obviously, completely in love. And beneath the photos, detailed files on Marlowe. Every restaurant closure. Every business failure. Every painful moment of her life. Documented. Planned. Orchestrated. Marlowe heard footsteps. Turned. Cassius stood in the doorway in his suit, immaculate and terrible. I was wondering when you'd find those, he said quietly. You've been planning this since I was born. Marlowe's voice shook. Every failure. Every loss. You made it happen. Yes. Why not just kill me? Why the elaborate torture? Cassius moved into the room slowly. Because death is mercy. And your mother showed me none. She said she loved me. Let me plan our future. Then told me she'd chosen your father, a man she barely knew, because I was too intense. Too damaged. Not safe. So you became exactly what she feared. I became what she made me. He stopped close, too close. And you, Marlowe? You're her chance to watch from whatever afterlife exists as I destroy the daughter she loved more than anything. As I take everything you are and twist it into something unrecognizable. Marlowe felt tears streaming down her face. I trusted you. I started to. What? Cassius's voice turned sharp. Feel something for me. Fall for your captor. That's pathetic, Marlowe. That's exactly what I wanted. You're a monster. Yes. He reached out, wiped a tear from her cheek with devastating gentleness. But I'm a monster you're dangerously close to loving. And that's the real revenge, isn't it? Making you love the thing that's destroying you. Marlowe slapped him. The crack echoed in the silent room. Cassius's head turned with the impact. When he looked back, his cheek was red, his eyes were blazing, and his smile was broken. Do it again, he whispered. Hit me again. Make me feel something real. Fuck you. Say that again. He stepped closer, backing her against the desk. Say it like you mean it. Fuck. You. And then, God help them both, Cassius kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't romantic. It was 30 years of rage and obsession and grief poured into one devastating moment. His hands in her hair, her nails digging into his shoulders, both of them destroying each other with mouths and teeth and the kind of hate that looks exactly like love. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Cassius whispered. I'm going to ruin you, Marlowe Chen. And you're going to let me. Because you're just as twisted as I am. Marlowe should have run. Should have packed her bags. Should have walked away from this beautiful nightmare. Instead, she pulled him back down and kissed him harder. Because he was right. She was just as twisted. And they were both going to burn. Scene 10, The Daughter's Revenge. Thea found them 3 hours later. Marlowe and Cassius. In his bed. Sheets tangled. Evidence of their mutual destruction written in bite marks and bruises. Thea didn't scream. Didn't yell. She just smiled. And that smile was more terrifying than any tantrum. Well, she said pleasantly. This is perfect. Cassius sat up, utterly unashamed. Thea. No, Dad. Really. This is exactly what I needed. She pulled out her phone. Because now I have leverage. Now I have proof that you're not just torturing some innocent chef for Mom's honor or your twisted revenge. You're fucking her. You're compromised. And the board? The board will be very interested to know that the CEO who promised to put the company first is too busy screwing his help. That's not, Marlowe started. Shut up, Thea snapped. You don't get to speak. You're a transaction. A warm body in a sad revenge plot. Do you really think he cares about you? He's using you to hurt a dead woman. That's all you'll ever be. Cassius stood, and Marlowe had never seen him look more dangerous. If you try to blackmail me with this. You'll what? Thea laughed. Poison me like you poisoned Mom? Oh wait, we're not supposed to say that out loud, are we? We're supposed to pretend it was suicide. Pretend you didn't kill your own wife because she was going to leave you and take half the company. I didn't kill Eleanor. Then who did? Thea's voice rose to a shriek. Who, Dad? Because someone did. Someone poisoned her oleander tea. Someone made it look like suicide. And the only person in this house who has an entire greenhouse full of murder plants is you. The silence that followed was suffocating. Marlowe looked between father and daughter and realized, this family was broken in ways she couldn't begin to understand. Finally, Cassius spoke, his voice deadly calm. "Get out, Thea. Before I forget you're my daughter. Or what? You'll destroy me like you destroy everything you love." Thea's smile was bitter, broken. "Too late, Dad. You already did." She left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Marlowe turned to Cassius. "Did you kill your wife?" "No." "Then who?" "I don't know." His voice cracked, just slightly. "But someone in this house did. Someone who had access. Someone who knew about the poisons. Someone who benefited." Marlowe felt ice crystallize in her veins. "You think it was Thea?" Cassius said nothing. But his silence was confirmation enough. "That's why you keep her close," Marlowe whispered. "That's why you haven't fired her from the company, why you let her live here. You're watching her. Waiting for her to slip." "I'm protecting her," Cassius corrected quietly. "Because even if she did it, even if my daughter murdered my wife, I can't let the world know. I can't let her go to prison. She's all I have left of." He stopped. Swallowed hard. "Of what?" Marlowe pressed. "Of the man I was before your mother broke me." And there it was. The truth beneath the truth. This entire nightmare, the revenge, the manipulation, the destruction, it wasn't really about Marlowe's mother. It was about a man so broken he'd forgotten how to be human. And Marlowe, God help her, wanted to fix him. Part 3, The Sweetest Poison. After Thea's explosion, everything changed. Cassius stopped pretending. Stopped maintaining distance. Stopped treating Marlowe like a transaction. They had 2 months left in their 6-month deal, and they spent it in a fever dream of stolen moments. Cooking together at midnight, Cassius's hands covering hers as he taught her to extract poison safely. Sleeping in the same bed, though sleeping was generous, mostly they talked until dawn about their mothers, their scars, their shared damage. Making love in the poison garden, surrounded by beautiful death, tasting murder on each other's tongues. It was twisted. Toxic. Completely unsustainable. It was also the most honest thing either of them had ever felt. One night, tangled in sheets that smelled like cedar and burnt sugar, Marlowe asked the question she'd been avoiding. "Did you ever love your wife, Eleanor?" Cassius was quiet for a long time. Finally he said, "I loved the idea of her. Married her because she was nothing like your mother, practical, cold, ambitious. I thought I could build a life on absence of feeling. But you can't. The numbness just makes you cruel." "Did she know about my mother?" "Yes. That's why she drank. Why she was so angry. She knew she was a placeholder for a ghost." He turned to look at Marlowe, traced her burned scars with one finger. "Just like you know you're a weapon aimed at that same ghost. Then why does this feel real?" Cassius's laugh was broken. "Because it is real. That's the cruelest part, Marlowe. I plan to torture you. Use you. Destroy you and walk away clean. But instead, you made me feel something I thought died 30 years ago." "What?" "Hope." He said it like a confession. Like a sin. Stupid, dangerous, idiotic hope that maybe I can be more than the monster I made myself into. Marlowe felt her heart crack open. "Cassius. Don't." He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. Don't forgive me. Don't save me. I don't deserve it. What if I want to anyway? Then you're as damaged as I am. And we're both going to hell. Marlowe smiled against his chest. At least we'll burn together. The real truth came out on day 167. Marlowe was in the poison garden, harvesting wolfsbane for a dessert. Yes, her life had gotten that weird, when she found it. A journal. Hidden under a loose floorboard. Eleanor Hargrave's journal. She should have given it to Cassius immediately. She didn't. She read it. And what she found turned everything upside down. Cassius doesn't love me. He never has. But I've made my peace with that. What I can't make peace with is her. Lillian. Even dead, she haunts this house. He keeps her photos. Visits her grave. Speaks her name in his sleep. I try to be patient. I try to understand. But I'm not a saint. I'm a woman who made the mistake of loving a man who's incapable of loving back. So I'm leaving. Taking Thea. Taking half the company. Taking everything I'm legally entitled to. Let him rot in his shrine to a dead woman. I'm done being a ghost in my own marriage. The entry was dated 3 days before Eleanor's death. Marlowe kept reading, hands shaking. Thea brought me tea tonight. Sweet girl. She's been so worried about me. The oleander is blooming beautifully this year. Cassius has been teaching her about the poisons. She's fascinated. Says she wants to be a botanist. I didn't have the heart to tell her I'm taking her away from all this. Away from him. She adores her father, despite everything. Maybe tomorrow. I'll tell her tomorrow. That was the last entry. Marlowe stood in that poison garden, journal in hand, understanding flooding through her. Thea hadn't poisoned her mother to hurt Cassius. She'd done it to keep her. To prevent her from leaving. A teenage girl so desperate to keep her family together that she'd committed murder. I see you found it. Marlowe spun. Thea stood in the doorway, looking smaller than usual. Younger. Broken. You killed her, Marlowe whispered. Your own mother. I saved her, Thea corrected, voice shaking. She was going to leave. Take me away from Dad. Destroy our family. I couldn't let that happen. So you poisoned her tea. It was supposed to just make her sick. Not, Thea's voice cracked. I didn't mean to kill her. I was 18. I was stupid. I thought if she was hospitalized, she'd have time to reconsider. To remember she loved us. But I miscalculated the dose. She broke. Completely. Sank to the ground sobbing. Marlowe stood frozen, journal in hand, watching Cassius's daughter fall apart, understanding that every person in this house was a victim of love gone wrong. Does your father know? He suspects. But he's never asked. Because asking means choosing between the truth and his daughter. And for all his cruelty, he's still a father. Marlowe sank down beside her. 2 women destroyed by loving the wrong men. What happens now? Thea whispered. I don't know, Marlowe admitted. But I think maybe we all need to stop pretending. That night, Marlowe made her last dinner for Cassius Hargrave. Day 180. 6 months exactly. She prepared the same meal she'd made on her first night, Dan noodles. Bitter. Sweet. The taste of loss. But this time, she added something extra. Truth. Cassius sat across from her. Thea sat at the end of the table, face pale, waiting for judgment. I found Eleanor's journal, Marlowe said without preamble. I know what happened. Cassius's face went carefully blank. And your daughter needs therapy, not revenge. Your wife didn't kill herself, but she also didn't die because of malice. She died because an 18-year-old girl made a terrible mistake trying to keep her family together. Thea flinched. Cassius said nothing. You've spent 7 years punishing yourself, Marlowe continued. Punishing me. Punishing everyone because you can't punish the person actually responsible, because she's your daughter and you love her. I don't, Cassius started. Yes. You do. Marlowe's voice was firm. You love her. You loved your wife, in your own broken way. You loved my mother. And, her voice softened. And I think you've started to love me. Not as a weapon. Not as revenge. As a person. Cassius looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. What if I have? What difference does it make? I've destroyed your family. Manipulated you. Used you. Love doesn't fix that. No, Marlowe agreed. It doesn't. But it's a start. She pushed the journal across the table to him. Read it. All of it. Understand what actually happened. Then decide. Do you want to keep being the monster your grief made you? Or do you want to try being human again? Cassius stared at the journal like it was a bomb. Then, slowly, he looked at his daughter. Thea. Is it true? Did you? Yes. Thea's voice was barely a whisper. I killed her. I killed Mom. I'm sorry. I'm so, she broke into sobs. And Cassius Hargrave, billionaire, poison collector, architect of revenge, did something Marlowe had never seen. He stood. Walked to his daughter. And pulled her into his arms while she cried. I know, he whispered into her hair. I've always known. I was waiting for you to be ready to tell me. Marlowe watched father and daughter hold each other in their shared grief, and understood. Healing wasn't pretty. It wasn't neat. It was messy and painful and required everyone to stop hiding behind their armor. But it was possible. Even for monsters. Especially for monsters. We're almost at the end, but before we finish this twisted love story, I need you to do something. Subscribe. Right now. Because Fortune 29 Mystic Tales has more stories like this, dark, romantic, unhinged tales of love and revenge and healing. And if this story destroyed you in the best way, leave a comment telling me which moment broke your heart. Now, let's see how this ends. 6 months later. Marlowe Chen stood in the kitchen of Chen's garden, the original location, restored and reopened with Cassius's money had taken 6 months of therapy, for everyone, legal negotiations, and uncomfortable family dinners. But they'd done it. Cassius had stepped back from Hargrave Pharmaceutical, appointed Thea as CEO, with mandatory therapy as a condition, and started the Lillian Chen Foundation, providing grants for immigrant-owned restaurants. Thea was seeing a therapist 3 times a week and had actually apologized to Marlowe. It wasn't friendship. Not yet. But it was progress. And Marlowe? She was cooking. Teaching. Rebuilding. The kitchen door opened. Cassius walked in, still silver-haired, still intense, but softer somehow. More human. Smells like home, he said. It is home, Marlowe replied. Or it will be. Once we finish renovations. He moved behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, chin on her shoulder. I've been thinking. Dangerous. About dessert. Also dangerous. Make me something, he murmured against her neck. Something that tastes like second chances. Marlowe turned in his arms, looked up at this man who tried to destroy her and ended up saving them both. Burnt honey ice cream, she said softly. With black sesame. And hope. Cassius smiled, a real smile, not his empty one, and kissed her forehead. Perfect. Outside, New York City hummed with life. Inside, two broken people held each other in a kitchen that smelled like their mother's recipes and second chances. Was it healthy? Probably not. Was it perfect? Definitely not. Was it love? The real, messy, complicated, slightly unhinged kind? Absolutely. And sometimes, that's enough. Sometimes, the sweetest thing you can taste is survival. Sometimes, the best revenge is healing. And sometimes, the most toxic obsession becomes the thing that saves you. The story you just listened, titled The Sweetest Obsession, is a Fortune 29 Mystic Tales original story. Thank you for watching this twisted romance. If you loved Marlowe and Cassius's journey from revenge to redemption, you need to check out our other dark romance stories in the playlist below. Drop a comment. Would you forgive someone who destroyed your family if they fell in love with you? Or is some damage too deep? Subscribe for more addictive storytelling. New episodes every week. Until next time, stay deliciously unhinged.